And welcome back to my channel, guys. So for today's video, what I want to do is I want to show you the drawstring bag, but I do want to show you how to hack the pattern instead of doing it the way the instructions are written. This way you'll only have one piece of vinyl instead of the two, and you don't have to put the one bag in the other. However, you can do the other way. That is the instructions that will come with the design. But this way is for the people who only want the one vinyl and are a little bit maybe more advanced to understand bag making. So what we are going to do today is the ones with the window. This is the one we're doing today. It's a 5x7 bag. It has the integrated boxed corners. It's all done on the hoop, so it's done in 2 hoopings. And then you do have to sew around the top for the casing, but that is it. Just that one little portion is done on the machine. All right, so we have the 5x7, we have the 6x10, we have the 8x10, and over here is the 9x14, which you can see kind of the size that you can fit it in there. You can fit a couple of nice things. Nice hostess gift for that one. You can put little containers in there. This one, my kids ate all my other candy, so it's Christmas candy, but you can put it there. All right, so let's get started on making this awesome little bag. All right, so to get started with the project, we have a hoop with a lightweight tearaway stabilizer in it. We have the vinyl piece and a piece of iron-on fusible web. This is a medium weight. You can use a medium, maybe a bit thicker. You need an outside piece for the bag, and the measurement is in the pattern. And with this, I do line it with an SF101. I do that to the outside of my bags mostly. And then you need a lining piece, which I have not lined with SF101. All right, so we are going to go start the placement stitch. Now, because this is a hack and does not follow the instructions that come with the design, I am going to be running the lining piece first. So when you look at the instructions are written as hoop 1 is typically the outside portion of the bag, which would be this one, but we're not starting with that for the hack job. For the hack, we need to start with the lining. All right, so going to go run the placement stitch on the stabilizer. So I went and I ran the placement stitch. So you've got the placement stitch for the bag itself, and then a placement stitch for the window area. And this is for the fusing that goes on there. And so what I do is we lay the fusible side up, right there, right, and the soft side on the back, and I have a 505 spray on there. So just like that. I've used 505. And we need to take it back to the machine, and it's going to do a tack down stitch for this. All right, so I went and I ran the stitch for that, and so now we need to cut out around the outside. All right, so it's just kind of rough cut out around. If you have a bag that you might see that in, you might want to do it a bit neater. And I also cut a little piece so that I have an easier time after in the center. All right, so the next thing that we have to do is we need to turn the hoop over to the back side. All right, and then we take our lining piece of material, and the lining piece of material goes the right side down. So when you're looking at the placement stitching, the wider area leads to the top end, and the shorter area here is the bottom end. So this end will be open and this end will have a bottom fold. All right. And with the lining piece, we have to go about 2 inches or even a bit more. So the easiest way to figure out is just get your ruler, put on a couple of inches. We'll do 2.5. There we go. And now you take that line that you did and you match that one up to the top here so that you have your drawstring, not your drawstring, your drawstring casing material. All right, and then you will tape that in place and take it back to the machine, and it is going to do the tack down stitch for the heart area. So I went and it does the inner circle. You can see the back there. And the next thing that we have to do is we have to cut out this stabilizer piece from here. Okay, and now we need to cut a hole in the heart, and this is where you want to go not too big and not too small. You kind of have to leave just the right amount here, so make a small hole. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to make some clips around the material so that when it flips, it's going to fold nice. All right, so you can see we have a bunch of clipped edges there. You can see it on the back. All right, and for this edge, just clip it a little bit there at the point. All right, now we need to turn the hoop over to the back. And what we need to do is we need to take the pieces, put it through the hole to the other side. And there we have it. So with the heart, as you can see, there's no point. So with this circle, it comes around nice, but with heart, you have to use something that's kind of a little bit blunt, not too sharp. And if you were to go in here, you can see where the little heart edge would be right here. So that would be the stitching for the point of the heart. And then you take your little blunt piece and kind of hold it near the point and kind of just gently push it in. See? And then you get a nice point on your heart. And now we need to iron this into place, and that's going to help all the sides lie nice and flat. Okay, and now that that is done, this is where things are a little bit different than in the instructions, because this is the hack version. And normally you would add a piece of vinyl at this point, but for this one, we're not going to do that. So we're going to take it back to the machine, and there's going to be 2 stitches that run around as a tack down finishing stitch for the heart. Now, I don't run both, I only run one. I guess it doesn't matter if you care if it's on the inside, but we need to just run the 1 stitch to hold this into place. So it is the first one, and we are going to go to the machine, and once it is finished doing that, we will be back. Alright, so I went and I did that. Only one of those little finishing stitches around there. And now for the hack version, this piece is done and we are going to take it out of the hoop. Alright, so now this piece with the hole in it, we need to set that aside so that we can add it to the next hooping. And there's no window. And now we are going to go do the next hooping, which is the outside of the bag. And same as the other one, we have to go do the placement stitch for the bag and then do the first part of the window with the iron-on fusible. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and be back. Okay, so now that I've done the same thing as I did in hoop number 1, we're not going to run the finishing stitching around the window just yet. We have to add the other pieces. So for this one, we need to add the vinyl piece, and all I did was rough cut my vinyl piece so that it kind of resembles a heart shape around the little centerpiece that I took out. So I left about 1/2 inch around each side. So you go to the back, and the easiest way to attach this is either with a little bit of Wonder Tape or a little bit of double-sided glue. All right, so that was double-sided Wonder Tape, not double-sided glue, or you could use the Wonder Tape or the glue. And so we put that on, and then you go ahead and you take your lining piece. All right, so you can see that there's an obvious top portion and other portion. All right, so what you have to do is you put it with the right side facing out, and you cover the hole. And as you can see, it fits very well over the hole. You'll see just a little bit around it. All right, so now we are going to take this back to the hoop, and you need to make sure that your long tail ends are not going to get stitched, and we are going to do a finishing stitch to hold these all together. All right, so at this point I wouldn't normally take it out of the hoop, but I am doing that just to show you. All right, so what we did a nice little finishing stitch. So it does it on the front and the back, which is why you only needed one on the lining piece. All right, so the next thing that we have to do is it needs to run the 2 side tack downs, and it is going to do that on the front and the back. All right, so we're going to do the one side and then the other side. Those 2 side ones are run, and basically whatever we're doing on the front of the hoop is what we're doing on the back of the hoop with this version. All right, so at this point, to make the bottom boxed bottom, integrated box bottom, we need to take the longer piece and it gets flipped up, and then you just gently push down here, and this end lines up with the placement stitching that is down here. And then you turn it over and do the same thing with the lining. All right, and now we need to take it back to the hoop, and it is going to run the diagonals for the boxed bottom. And make sure your top is out of the way. So we have those. They are here and here, and although you can't see it, these bottoms do line up with that stitching. All right, so what is done on the front is done on the back. So now what we need to do, and normally I would do this all on the hoop, I wouldn't take it out. You don't have to take it out except for to do the bottom portion, but I don't usually take it out this much. All right, so then you take this top piece, and with those two pieces those two stitchings that you have just done, you flip it back down. All right, and then it only goes so far, and then you just give this a little press. All right, and then you do the exact same thing, the underside. And then we take it back to the machine, and we are going to run a couple of little stitches to hold these in place. So I went ahead and we have those, one on this side and one on the other side. All right, and now we have to flip the bag back up again. So you want to make sure that your bottom matches, and again, it can only go so far. So just make sure that these two bottoms, the one underneath and then this one, make sure they meet. So here you can see that the bottoms line up on both sides. And now we take it back to the machine, and it's going to run the final stitching that is going to take it from here all the way up on both sides. And there we have it. It is done. So now we have to take it out of the hoop. All right, and it is going to be a little hard to get the stabilizer out from in between, so that's why I suggest using a very lightweight stabilizer so that it is a little easier to get some out. But whatever you use, make sure you don't mind some of it being in the bag. All right, so now that I have the stabilizer taken off, here we go, then we have to cut the pieces down to size. So now where this one is, you can see the line goes right to the top, and at this top section on the bag piece that's for the outside, we cut it right across that area. All right, and now for the other side, we need to leave the gap for the casing that goes on top, and I like to leave around a 2-inch. All right, so now that we have that all cut out, what you need to do, and like the other one, the drawstring part is not attached on the sides. That is correct. And what you need to do is you need to just draw yourself a little line or whatever, just to know that you do need to fold in the casing at that area. And to do that properly, we will need to cut one of these in. So this one will need to be cut in on this side where there is all the different ones together. So you can see this side only has the one, so it'll fold nice, but the other one will not. So just cut a little bit into that, up to where that line is. See, don't go past that. And to continue making the casing, we need to take the part of the lining and fold it all the way down to where the tops will meet. So do this on each side. And then you take it and that top part folds into the crease that you just made, and then over again. And the next thing that we have to do is I just want to, where all this bulk is down here, I just cut right above that little bulk. Like that. So I just notch it into the seam there. So you can see that it's going to help reduce bulk on the inside. All right, now to turn it right side in, all you have to do is go into the part that is the finished part and flip it. All right, so you can see now lining there. All right, so now the next thing that we have to do is we have to make the top, and what you do is you just fold over the casing. That's why we ironed it, and you do that on both sides. Okay, and then you make sure that your casing matches up. Like that. And then we need to take it over to the machine and do a stitch around the top and a stitch around the bottom. Right, so when I was sewing it, I did have it inside out like this because I need to do that to get it on my machine properly. And what we have is that finished stitching around the edge. All right, so after doing that, you really do need to give the bag a little bit of a press for the bottom, just to keep them in place a little bit. All right, so there we have the finished bag. You can see inside. And the next thing that we have to do is just finish it off by adding the drawstring casing around the bag here. All right, so to add the cording around it, all I do is take my cord, kind of put it around, and then measure how much I think I want sticking out. And then to make it the double drawstring, so you go on one end of it and you put it in, then it goes all the way around. And then for the next one, we start on the other side and then go all the way around. And there we have it, the finished drawstring bag. And it is absolutely adorable. It is so functional. It's great. You can store whatever you want. So I hope that you really like this project. I hope you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. And thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.